Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Okay, so I wanted to finally start to take a look at some rockabilly fingerpicking. Although I'll probably just be using my thumb more than my fingers, but there's all sorts of names we can use, thumb picking, Travis picking, for this, just rockabilly fingerpicking. And I say rockabilly, rock and roll, that kind of thing, rather than, because it can be a little bit more messy, so to speak. But that isn't, necessarily a bad thing. Brian Setzer talks about his style in that way, and there's something actually wonderful about what his kind of finger picking style, because it has this more kind of rhythmical strummed element. I've probably talked about that in some other videos, but we'll kind of look into that here. So, there's a ton of tutorials and sort of things like that available, whether it's on YouTube or, in books and that. So it's a hard sort of topic to think, what can I begin with this, with what's already out there. So, after rattling sort of my brain, I guess the best thing for me to do is just how this all occurs to me. Which is obviously just a bit of a mixture of everything I kind of learnt. If I've not really fingerpicked for a while or some days, I might just go through a kind of like a process of these steps. And it's kind of these steps what, in some ways is how I kind of learnt as well. It's really important, to also warm up sometimes the hands and the tendons. So even just when we begin to practice, we're starting, on better footing, rather than sort of fighting, just being cold. And, it doesn't have to be anything more than a minute, but just something. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video or something. But, and, to begin with, I'm just going to use my thumb. And rather than kind of start down in this, more typical position, let's just, there's a lot of sort of movement I can get around here, which I like. So if we just take, although I'm going to be playing one note, I still sometimes like to make some of the chord, because some of these notes, as we know, will kind of bleed through a little bit. So we just take this kind of, partial E7. So, 7th fret on the A, 6th on the D, and 7 on the G. And so that 7th fret on the A is the root of our chord, and if I play the 7th fret on the 6th string, that's the 5th of our chord. We get that kind of when I'm just doing these single notes, I don't know why, I just kind of naturally just have a bit of a bounce in the hand. Now sometimes practicing these just not necessarily in music as such. Sometimes a little difficult for me to get right. I've got to sort of remember myself not to play these things too hard in the beginning, and try to, let your thumb, I'm just resting on the 5th string, and just kind of push through with your thumb a little bit. We get this kind of rest stroke, we'll hit what we hear about in classical, things like that. So we just want our thumb to come to rest on the next string. I'm just kind of pushing through, not really sure if it's muscle or with the bone, but not really making any kind of force, with the hand. So it's just a little bit of a push, and kind of gravity does the rest. And it's all about the groove, no matter what you're doing, whether it's this or chords or soloing. It's always that you're thinking of a context, even that. If that's the part you're meant to play in a song, well, that's your part, but you can still. So this kind of rest stroke I did, it's really just to help get a bit of strength with the thumb. Maybe if I'm actually playing kind of more coming off there and bouncing away. So with this 7th idea, we're going to do that on the 5th string and the 6th string, this root and 5th idea. And I'm going to play it 2 times. Then I'm just going to move down a semitone, E flat. I guess like I played before, you know, a bit of the guitar solo from 8 Track by Brian Setzer. And this kind of exercise I use, it's similar to that kind of descending progression. So, so when I get down to the B, our 5 chord, just start again. Now even here with just that thumb, there's a few little things I might just go through it like that, just very straight, just. Or I might even make a little bit more of a quicker movement there. So to play the 5th and then back to the root immediately to move down to the next chord. Another thing might be as I get down to the 5 chords, so maybe I'll bit of a slide up, kind of I guess to the 7th fret on the 6th, just to put me in position to then move to the root on the 5th string. So another, again down to the 5 chord, maybe I'll just ascend on the A string, so sorry. No. Yeah, much better like that. And the next note being our root again. So I'm just playing 2nd fret on the A, 2nd fret on the low E, and I start this run. 2, 4, 5, 6 on the A, and leading back to the beginning. So you know, so let's think. I mean, I guess there's kind of 4 variations there. Just the oh my god, my phone vibrating. I turned it down last time because of the bloody bird sounds. You know, that kind of thing. So, you know, with a lot of these ideas in the beginning, I'm going to be working on this kind of progression and just kind of building up some of the things we can do. So I'll have to make a backing track for that, because I really want you to hear how even this can sound in a more musical context. Now, and even at that tempo is fine, but of course, even if it was... And of course, there's a bit of muting going on there. I'd like to practice this sometimes, like with no muting, just to try and get some of that, you know, sound and even a bit of strength, or just develop some of the textures you can get from just muting and not, or then practice it with muting. slide, sort of, don't push too hard, but just give it a bit of. As we'll sort of see, you know, we use our thumb, we're going to, you know, sometimes not just playing one note, it'll, if I'm just playing there, even the B, it can't help but sort of catch some of the other strings a little bit. So I might slide up with that B. And that could be the next thing. Rather than intentionally look for other strings, we're just going to push through a little bit more with our thumb on this first. Yeah, you know, even a little bit of kind of, you know, the beat there. You know, and it's just things like that to help you just, even something so simple as this, to have a bit more, you know, kind of groove to it. So I guess the last thing with what we can do with just this shape for this like kind of first lesson, so we're picking, you know, like before, our root on the 5th string. And now with the thumb, because we've got these 2 notes fretted on the 4th and 3rd strings of each of these 7th chords. So we're going to play like 1 beat, you know, 1 is our root. And then with our thumb, the 4th and 3rd strings, you're really going for the kind of 4th, but just with that little bit of, you know, and it's not too hard, you're not digging in with your thumb, you're just kind of pushing. You'll get, and then, like before, we'll do the 5th of the chord and the 6th string, and now we have to skip with our thumb because we're going back to the 4th and 3rd strings for this. You know, and I'm not really, you know, even Brian sets it, he doesn't, you know, pick too hard. That's you know, one of the mistakes is digging in too much. Just, you know, don't, the strength will kind of come as you get, as the technique gets better. You don't have to kind of, especially with the right hand, pick too hard. I guess my left hand has a little bit of a bounce to it. You know, if I was to stop playing with my right, sometimes my left is kind of like this. Maybe because I'm trying to just focus on that, it's a little bit exaggerated, but it, you know, it's always a kind of a bit of a bounce to it, which helps the kind of the muted, you know, with this hand, the muted with the right hand. So that with that kind of progression. Or even slide up on the B to the root. And as you saw, you know, changing some of the dynamics. So having that's the idea, having something so simple as this. And don't, you know, even worry about going beyond this, but making all of these little variations dynamic. by accenting certain other things. Maybe you want to accent the chord part rather than the kind of the bass notes. So we've been doing that a bit more, kind of just, controlled with the thumb. But I mean, that's another thing now. You could even just make that more of a strum. So still kind of aiming to just get that bass note, this root that's always on the fifth here. But this second one, I'm just kind of lifting up the thumb a bit and giving a little bit of a sort of a wipe, just a bit of a... So we're there now, we're moving into more of a strum thing, but it's all thinking with the thumb, not thinking of this big kind of, finger picking, thumb picking. It's such, like I'm going from one thing to the next. It's all connected. So, like I say, even before worrying about bringing the fingers in, let's just kind of get, a good solid foundation. So, you can just... And we'll look at other chords, that and how we can just start to apply this basic idea. And I need to make some backing tracks so you can hear this in context, because just doing this kind of thing, spending a little bit of time on this, especially every day, if you can just find a few minutes even just to... But something like that, it's got to feel musical to you, so that it doesn't just become like, like I say, the problem I find with some people is that they it's like they're changing chip from, like, I'm just playing my chords and my rhythm, now I'm going to finger picking, and don't try to make the changing of techniques, like something that is that big of a deal. That's why we're trying to blur the line really between what is kind of strumming with the thumb, then maybe a bit more controlled as it's going into something more picked. And later, even with one finger, we can... There's all sorts of things by just then, with the addition of the fingers, we can create these syncopated ideas, which are not complicated at all, but it's getting such a solid foundation, and a foundation in the sense of that you're really kind of... even playing this on your own, sort of put yourself and really try and dive into the, I keep saying this word, but groove, try and get this thing really happening. Maybe I'd be practicing, I want to do this. Just playing it, sliding down and back into the chord I'm at. Because I'm practicing that technique, but maybe I'll use this exercise. I like it because we're going from our one chord to our five and just back, and we've got this kind of little descending sequence. So we'll start to, the next time, start to now include, some kind of fingers, and just start to flesh out what can be done with all this. But you might be just doing something like, let's just take our regular sort of I don't know, blue suede shoes or something, and you want to go to, just use something like what we've been doing. Right, so give those a try, folks, and like I say, I want to just try and move through this as I might if I'm just warming up, sort of, brushing up on my technique for it a little bit, and the kind of things, the sort of deconstructed process of how I might get there, and how this just kind of all applies to me. And yep, we'll see what it all ends. Right, well, cheers, folks. Take care, and I'll see you next time.